Arbok ranks 65th out of 151 Pokemon in terms of base stats in Gen 1, with a 359 base stat total. And looking at its base stat spread, it doesn't have anything that really sticks out as great. It only has 85 base attack and 80 base speed, and the rest of the stats are in the 60s, so not really top tier, which kind of makes sense. This Pokemon was mostly included in the game to be something that would be used by Team Rocket members, and it's just a random member of Agatha's team. I don't think anybody expects it to be a world beater. That's why it's probably going to be a tough Pokemon to run on ultra minimum battles, a setting where we fight only the 8 gym leaders, the Elite Four, and the champion, 13 battles to beat the entire game of Pokemon Red and Blue. Still, I think this Pokemon has a few reasons to have a slight glimmer of hope. Not only does it have a very nice defensive stat, it also gets some moves that I think will just barely be good enough to get us through the game. We start off with Wrap, one of the most broken tactics in the Gen 1 games, because when you hit Wrap on an opponent, they cannot move. If we add on the ability to poison opponents, there could be some spots where poison plus Wrap is actually good enough to get through a fight. On top of that, we do get some decent TM compatibility with Mega Drain, Earthquake, Dig, Fissure for one-hit KO moves, and we can learn Rock Slide, giving us something to use against Ice types and Flying type Pokemon. So the real question is, will all of these tools be enough to get us through the game, or could this be a situation where Arbok just doesn't have enough tools and has too many type weaknesses as it goes through this one? Let's get into this and find out. So today, as we step outside of Pallet Town, Professor Oak's pretty sure that my name is Jesse because he brought me back to the lab to get this snake Pokemon here, and we have given it a perfect name, Arbok Gnik. If you understand it, go ahead and leave that in the comments down below why we would give this name. But for now, I'm going to put this one into the Bulbasaur ball. That means we'll go up against the Charizard team at the end of the game, and let's just see how this Pokemon actually goes. So of course, Arbok Gnik is coming in as a standard Arbok, but before we get into this, we have a few advantages for this Pokemon. Number one, we have 10 of every single vitamin in the game, which we're simply going to slam on to make this the strongest Arbok that has ever existed. And after making a snake so strong that it would definitely make Jesse blush, we're coming in with a level 5 Arbok here with 24 HP, 17 attack, 15 defense, 16 speed, 15 special. On top of that, we have our starting moveset of Wrap, Leer, and Poison Sting, and I think we're going to carry Wrap for a very long time in this one. In fact, we might just be adding on like one additional move for a lot of fights, because in a lot of cases, the strategy might be to simply wrap an opponent into a range so that we can knock them out with something like Hyper Beam or Earthquake later on in the run. For now, though, we have to fight against the rival, which we cannot defeat with this Pokemon. He's got a level 100 Gengar that simply goes for Nightshade and destroys me. That's perfectly fine. We don't need no experience from that rival. Instead, let's walk out of the lab and we run into Sabrina's gym, the one place that Arbok is absolutely scared to go, but we will find a few things. Of course, this guy has become a healer, and this statue is filled with almost every TM in the game, and there are quite a few that I think we need with this Pokemon. We can go Rock Slide strats in this one. We can also get TM50 for Substitute. That might be useful at some point. We will get a bunch of Hyper Beams. Yes, we can go Double Edge in some cases. That might be useful. Takedown's also usable, though I don't know how good it will be. Dig and Earthquake are going to be very important in this one. I have a few strategies planned, so I will take those out immediately as well. Body Slam is also a learnable TM here, so I think it's good to learn, especially because that could help with our Wrap strats. Then TM31 for Mimic and TM44 for Rest seem like just natural go-tos just in case we run into a serious problem, but for now, we'll get all those TMs into the bag. And the first TM that I think I want to learn is going to be Body Slam. Body Slam is incredibly useful in the early game because it will allow us to potentially paralyze opponents, guaranteeing they're slower, in which case we can then set up Leers and Wraps and hopefully take the opponents down. So let's just see how that works on Brocky Boy. So Brocky Boy attempt number 1 here on the Geodude, I'm going to lead off with a Body Slam trying to get paralysis. Granted, this one is slower than us, so it's probably better to go for a couple of Leers here, hoping they'll tackle me once. so that I get a net drop in his defense and then go for the wrap. We're going to have to land a lot of wraps here in order to get through this one, but it could be a strategy that gets us an advantage at some point. We can see wrap does only 1 damage per hit, but as long as it hits enough times, eventually this one will go down just purely to the wrap spam. I think that's all we actually need, is just to get to the Onyx. So here we do manage to get through. We get to level 7 as we get to the Onyx. And here, because it's faster than me, I'm going to body slam, hoping for the paralysis. We don't get it this time. It unleashes energy, but we see we didn't take much damage back. The reason I'm going for paralysis is because even when he uses the full heal in this generation, he will still not outspeed us. The speed drop stays after the full heal. So now we are faster and we can just start wrapping on this one. And if he can't escape the wraps, we should eventually get a victory. Here we're down to our last PP and wrap, but we can see he's all the way down to 3 HP himself. Now even 2 HP. Let's body slam, and that gets the victory. So only a couple attempts there to get through Brocky Boy. 8 minutes, 6 seconds. It's not the fastest fight. We will have to knock off that rival fight that's lowering our score slightly, but really not too bad for this Pokemon. 1 TM, 1 reset so far. Like I said, the optional battle is just that rival fight, so I'll simply knock it off. And that leaves us with a score of 98.9, getting through the first gym leader. Now we can go to the next gym, which I think will be Misty, but I think the logic basically remains the same. That what we want to do is go body slam in order to lower her speed, and then use wrap strats in order to get through. In this case, she's not going to be able to use a full heal, so she's not even going to be able to get rid of the paralysis. So that gives us an extra chance to win, even when we do get a miss from wrap. So let's just see how this goes against Misty. So Misty attempt number 1 right here. I'm going to lead off with the body slam on the Staryu. It is faster than me. The critical hit didn't do that much, and we got taken down by 2 water guns. So clearly we're going to need a little bit of help here. We are only at level 8, of course, being in the medium fast level up group. Here we get to the paralysis though, and that gives us the chance to go into the wrap strat. Basically, we're just going to sit here and spam wrap until we think we've got a range to knock it out with body slam, at which point we'll simply knock it out. That gets us to level 10 as Starmie comes out. It goes water gun, dealing massive damage. Now she X defense. We're just looking for paralysis. We didn't get it that time. But remember, it's a 30% chance to paralyze with body slam. So there is a decent chance of getting paralysis within a couple hits on each of these Pokemon. We can mess around a little bit with Leers in order to try to get better ranges, but ultimately I think it mostly just comes down to using wrap here to try to get them into a range where we can simply knock them out. Still, our low special is working against us here, and our low level obviously means we take a lot of damage, but I think eventually we will be able to get this to go. This time we get tackled by the Starmie, and then we do get the paralysis, so we just need good wrap luck here in order to get through this from here. She X defends there, but if we don't miss, we will eventually win. Here, unfortunately, we did get the miss, and we got hit by the water gun. Nothing we can do. There's a 1 in 4 chance she won't move on any turn where we miss. Thanks to the paralysis, we just didn't get it that time. So this time we even get to Starmie on full health, but Bubble Beam nearly destroys me there. We're down to 3 HP. She does anything after that, we simply lose when we don't get the paralysis on. This time we get a tackle miss from Starmie, then it hits the water gun, and unfortunately we had 2 hits with body slam. We just couldn't get paralysis. So while I can guarantee that this will work out eventually, on the basis that eventually we will get a run where we get the paralysis on the Starmie and hit all the wraps, it's definitely not super consistent. You're definitely hoping for some luck here between wrap actually hitting and getting the paralysis in the first place so that you can actually outspeed. I just think this is the best strat that we have available to us. I don't think another move like Hyper Beam would really do that much more for us here. It really just comes down to the paralysis luck. This time we've got it paralyzed. We are landing a lot of wraps here. Still, we're going to have to get it down pretty low before body slam can actually knock this one out. So I think we're stuck using wrap for now, because really any hit is going to knock us out from this point. Even a water gun, we simply lose. Like here we can see we do 6 damage with body slam after an X defend. So that means we would have to get her down to about 6 HP remaining in order to knock her out at the end, short of getting a critical hit. So I'm basically looking for her to have about 6 HP remaining, then I'll go for the body slam to try to finish her off. This time I YOLO'd to use a Leer after she used the X defense, so we at least get her defense down a little bit, which should get us a slightly better range. We might be able to knock her out from like 9 or 10 HP here. We're still going to need a lot of luck to get the Starmie down into that range without missing a wrap. She was fully paralyzed one turn, hit a tackle another turn, so we're on 1 HP remaining. But here at this range, I think body slam will do it. Sure enough, it does. So we get to level 12 and we've defeated Misty. It took 25 minutes, 18 seconds. It's not super consistent by any means, but you will eventually get through. 45 resets to get through Misty, but still only 1 TM learned, leaving us with a score of 94.5 through the second gym. Like I said, that strategy will eventually work for a lot of things with this Pokemon. Body Slam and or Glare are going to be very important as we go through the run. Of course, there are certain spots where we can't use that strategy, but it at least always gives us a shot in these otherwise really tough fights. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to try to come into the Surgy Boy fight because I think his Pokemon are fairly frail, physically speaking, so we may be able to just repeat the same strategy, Body Slam into the Wrap. We're only really going to go for poison strats in a case where we're already outspeeding the opponent. Otherwise, Body Slam for the paralysis I think is more consistent in order to be able to outspeed and hopefully just lock them out of doing anything. So let's just see how this strategy actually works out. So Surgy Boy attempt number 1, of course he's going to outspeed us initially, so let's go for the Body Slam here on this Voltorb. We're hoping to paralyze it. It gets a Screech on me, but I don't think that's actually a big deal. From here, we may be able to just knock this one out with the Body Slam, but I took it down with Wrap. I think that's perfectly fine. Here we are still slower than Pikachu. It goes Thunder Wave, we go Body Slam. Obviously being paralyzed is like the worst thing for this strategy. We get to level 14 as we get to Raichu. It goes Growl, and then it Thunderbolts and we lose. Still, let's try this one again because we just need slightly better luck. We saw we could survive a Thunder Shock from Pikachu, so that makes me think that this one will go eventually. It looks like no matter what, Voltorb is just a 4-hit KO, so we can take that one down. Pikachu could go Growl against us, so there are some chances for it to use a non-damage dealing move there, and that's probably just fine. It's also worth noting that when he X speeds, that will basically undo the speed drop from the paralysis. So at that point, we're probably better off just going all in to take down the opponent in front of us. This time we get through to the Raichu with no paralysis, but it still just goes Thunderbolt, and there's nothing we can do to stop it in that case. We're really hoping for Growl from that Pokemon. This time we paralyze the Raichu after he goes Growl. I'll Leer once. He uses the X speed. Not much we can do about that. I think we really needed him to use the X speed first, then get the paralysis. That will give us a better chance of actually getting through this one. But of course, I think there is a better strategy on this overall, which is to add on a TM, and I'm going to learn TM28 for Dig. I'm going to learn this over Leer because I think this is going to be a good strategy for this fight. Of course, it will give us a much stronger damage dealing move that might just one-shot against some of these Pokemon. So let's just test that out and see. Here, Dig appears to be a 2-hit KO on the Voltorb. Pikachu goes for an X speed and then just gets one shot. Now let's see what this move does against the Raichu. He growls turn 1, X speeds turn 2. We see the critical hit did that much, and now Body Slam should just end it. So yeah, Dig basically gets the job done. 30 minutes, 40 seconds to get through that. I'm going to have to keep Dig on my moveset from here for quite a while because of a strategy I have in mind later. That's why I was putting off learning the move, and I want to be able to still have the flexibility to forget Dig once and still be able to set up a ground type move when we get to Agatha. So I think this is super important that now that I've learned Dig, I'm actually going to have to keep it on my moveset for a really long time. Anyway, we get through 30 minutes, 40 seconds to get through Surgy Boy, a score of 92.8, just because I was resetting there a lot of times to try to get through with the Body Slam and Wrap strat, but because he uses the X speeds, it does make that strat less viable. Still, we get it done. In the end, we're ready to move on in this challenge. So now I'm honestly not sure if it's better to go to Erica or go to Koga. Against Erica, her first victory bell is only going to use the move Wrap against us, so we would be completely relying on hitting a body slam to paralyze it on a turn that it misses Wrap. Koga, on the other hand, I think we have a strategy where we can actually manage to knock this one out just with the digs, and we should outspeed against the coughings at least. So let's just see how this one goes instead, and maybe it's just a matter of dig in order to knock out the final wheezing. Let's get into this and see how it goes. So Koga attempt number 1 right here. Let's first just see how much damage we do with a dig, and it doesn't do a lot. We did 21 damage, so this would be a 4-hit KO against the first coughing. That makes me think that it's better to go for a Wrap strat here. Of course, when he smoke screens, that's pretty much going to kill any potential of Wrap strats, but we can eventually get through this Pokemon as long as we actually manage some hits. We get to level 16 as the Muck comes out. We are slower than this Pokemon, so we would want to Body Slam here in order to be able to outspeed. Of course, he can go Minimize. We've already taken a bunch of accuracy drops, and with the X attacks, he just does too much damage with the Sludge. Let's try this again. So this time, I think we're better off going for Wrap strats against these coughings as long as we don't have any accuracy drops. We basically just want to get these Pokemon into a range where we can hopefully knock them out in a single hit. Of course, he's only going to use Smokescreen and Tackle against an Arbok because of the fact that we are a poison type. Still, let's see how much damage we actually do to Muck here. Oh, once again, we do basically nothing. Still, Muck can use some pretty bad strategies here. It can go for like Poison Gas and Disable and whatnot, but it's pretty clear we're just not dealing enough damage in this fight. Now, there is an argument for going Substitute to block these smoke screens as a way to get through this more effectively, but before I go that far, I'm going to at least try Erica and just see how she looks at her current level. So Erica attempt number 1, let's go for the Body Slam on this Victory Bell. We know it's only going Wrap against us, and Wrap has a 15% chance to miss. We're going to need a 15% chance to miss plus a 30% chance to get the paralysis to have a decent chance of getting through this one. This time we get it. So now it's time to see how much we do with the Wrap here. Obviously, it's not going to do great damage, but our whole goal here is just to whittle this Pokemon down into a range that hopefully we can knock it out with a dig. Here, I'll dig to see how much damage we do. We did pretty good there with a critical hit. And of course, the paralysis does help against the Wrap strats. We force a Super Potion from her, but we can still see we would have to get her pretty low on HP in order to actually knock her out with the dig. Here we do get it to go though, so we can get to the Tangela. I'm going to Poison Sting here, hoping for the poison status. It does land Bind on me, which is pretty bad, but if we can poison this one, then we will have a pretty good Wrap plus poison strat. Unfortunately, we couldn't get any status there, even though I think it's like a 1 in 5 chance to poison with Poison Sting, so we're gonna have to try this one again. So we do manage to get to Tangela again here, only to get Bind from it, and still no poison status, even though we've been going for it for a minute. We finally land the poison. She gets a critical hit Bind against me, but finally we can go into our Wrap with the poison status and ultimately take that Pokemon down. We get a level up to learn Bite. I'm going to go ahead and learn this move over Poison Sting. I don't think Poison Sting is going to be that useful in the upcoming fights. Definitely tell me if you think I'm wrong, but I think in the late game, if we go for a Poison strat, it's going to be a Toxic with Wrap strat. So let's just go ahead and learn Bite right here as we get to the Vileplume. Here now, of course, we need to land a bunch of Wraps. It's going to go for things like Petal Dance and Mega Drain against us. It could just use any of its moves because it views them all as being resisted. Here we get the Sleep Powder and Mega Drain, and we simply can't wake up, so we lose. It's pretty clear we're going to have to get to the Vileplume with better HP than that. Now, I am using a lot of speed up in this fight because of the fact that it's just so tedious. using wrap strats, so definitely don't compare times on these runs. Compare scores, because that's going to tell you much better how luck-based each fight actually was. So here I've made multiple runs at the Vileplume, but still I just haven't quite been able to get through. So I think this is the time where we do think about changing up our moveset in order to try to get through one of these fights. So I'm going to say goodbye to the move Poison Sting and learn the move Substitute, and let's just see if that gives us a way to get through Koga. So back to Koga for round 2. I'm going to still body slam, but I'm going to set up Substitute now. I'm hoping that he uses a non-damage dealing move against me, and that hopefully now we can just sit here and wrap against this coughing, with the entire idea being to take it down into a range where hopefully we can knock it out. Of course, if he goes Smokescreen against the Substitute, it will have no effect. That's the whole reason for this move. And of course, if he does manage to land a strong damage dealing move against us at some point, we will at least not be KO'd by that. Still, of course, he's very defensively bulky, so we're going to have to go for Dig once we get him in a range to knock him out. Against the Muck, I will body slam to try to get paralysis on this one, which I do. I can substitute again after that, and then I'm trying to use Dig to knock this Muck out, even though it's using a bunch of Minimize. I think it's kind of bad luck when he just goes for Minimize like every single turn, but at some point, we're just going to have to land enough hits to actually get the victory there. Here, we finally managed to get through Muck, so we're on to the second of these coughings. I'm not sure I learned Bite though. I think I stick with Dig and Body Slam here with the Substitute. Let's just see how this goes. I'm going to Body Slam first to try to get paralysis. And it's nice when he just uses Smokescreen a bunch of times, because obviously that can't affect us behind the Substitute. Now he uses Tackle. We have to set up another Substitute, but now he goes for the Smokescreen. So we'll have the Substitute going to the final Wheezing. Here, the strategy is Dig. He self-destructs. We Dig. He X-attacks because of the glitch, and he self-destructs again, and we lose. So once again, we get the double self-destruct glitch from Koga, resulting on us losing in spite of the fact that we should have won because he self-destructed and hit our Substitute. We're going to have to try this one again. So we once again get back to the second coughing here. I get paralysis turn 1. Now into the Dig spam to hopefully knock this one out. We can see we're doing pretty decent damage here. I'm just going to body slam it down. And now yet again, we're hoping for a situation where we can manage to survive against this Wheezing. We Dig, it self-destructs and misses. And when we're underground, the miss results in Wheezing fainting. So we finally win. It took 9 attempts when we came back to Koga this time with these Substitute strats as we get to level 20. But it's been an hour, 7 minutes. I reset for a very long time there on Erica trying to get it to go. So we're up to 144 resets in total, 4 TMs learned, 1 broken TM learned, but that's honestly, I think, the best that we can do with this Pokemon to get through one of these gyms. And from here, I think Substitute has to stay on our moveset for a hot minute, but the badge boost in speed does mean that we now purely outspeed against Erica, and that should help us get a victory in that fight, so that's where I'm going next. I'm going to try the Erica fight. Let's see how many levels we can gain here. Since we don't need to go for the paralysis at the beginning anymore, we can simply go straight for the wrap on the first victory bell. Let's see if it helps us get a better range. So Erica, round 2 here. I'm going straight for wrap on this victory bell. I think there's no better play for this Pokemon than to simply do this without going for some sort of mimic into sleep powder strat. So we're going to get it down fairly low on health. We're hoping that she doesn't super potion, then body slam can just end that Pokemon. Tangela comes out next. I'm going to body slam here. It goes constrict, which isn't really that big of a deal as long as it doesn't get another speed drop on me. I think I'm fine. I'll set up a substitute here just in case as it goes bind. We're hoping to have this substitute up on the final Vileplume, and we just knock that Pokemon out from there. Now we get to the final Vileplume. I am going wrap strats the whole way here. We are in a speed tie. We see it broke my substitute with a Mega Drain. Now I'm going body slam because I want to outspeed here. I want it to get paralyzed. There we get the paralysis. I'll set up another substitute just to be safe as it goes Petal Dance. That did break my substitute, but now we can go for the wrap. And with her on fairly low health, I'm hoping she doesn't super potion. We hit the dig and we get the victory on the first attempt coming back. 1 hour, 9 minutes, 10 seconds. A score of 71.6. Really not great, but we are getting through, and ultimately we could have saved a lot of resets by just going the substitute much earlier. This is a first run. I don't pre-route these, so keep that in mind as you look at the scores here. I'm trying to get through without using my quote-unquote broken TMs, the Mimic, the Substitute, the Rest, the Toxic. I'm only slapping those on when it seems like I can't get through without them. So keep that in mind. I will sit here and reset quite a bit in situations where those seem to be the only strats. Now with that done though, I think my next play is to try to go against either Giovanni or to go against Blaney Boy. I need to decide which one I want to do more, but I'm going to try to go into Giovanni first. We could learn the Mega Drain TM that we've just picked up. I'm not sure that's the best strategy here though. I'm going to stick with my moveset as is first and just try this one time. Now we could also go to Blaney Boy and eventually go for a Toxic Wrap strat. So that is something to keep in mind as well. But I'm going to try this Giovanni fight first just to see how it goes. So Giovanni attempt number 1 right here. I'm going to lead off with Dig against this Rhyhorn. It does about a quarter. It's probably going to end up being a 4-hit KO here. So I guess we wrap it into a range where hopefully we can knock it out. Unfortunately, we get taken down on that first attempt. Let's try this again. He could just go Horn Drill a bunch of times and that could give us the victory. But sure enough, it looks like a 4-hitter at least on this Rhyhorn. In fact, we even get a 5-hitter. That's kind of bad. Plus we get a Gen 1 miss. So we're really low on Dig PP now. The one advantage we have with Dig is against this Doug trio. It's only going to want to use Dig against us because it views that as being super effective. So we can use Dig ourselves. The problem is if he goes Guard Spec while he's underground, that can result in us losing the fight. So we're going to have to see how this goes. We have the advantage of being slower, so we can always Dig second as long as he doesn't Guard Spec. That makes me think we have to set up a substitute on the first Rhyhorn in order to get through this though. Otherwise, we're going to be in bad shape. So that will at least buy us the turn if he does go for the Guard Spec. When he does hit Dig after that, I'll just use substitute and he's only going to go Guard Spec once. So after that, we can guarantee that we will always hit second and that will allow us to eventually get through the Doug trio. Sure enough, we get that one down. We get to the Nidoqueen. It is faster than me. It goes Scratch and breaks my substitute and we're simply going down from there. So it looks like this fight doesn't quite work. Let's go to the Blaine fight instead and see if we can get that to go. Now, Blaine has Smart AI in this version, which I believe means he's only going to go Agility here against our Poison-type Pokemon. So we can really just go for anything here. We can just spam a bunch of Body Slams in order to eventually knock this one out. There's no need to go for any special strategies there against the Growlithe. Against Ponyta, on the other hand, it's going to use just all of its moves randomly. We see that Dig with a critical hit will get us a 2-hit KO here. He Super Potions, but after that, we should eventually be able to knock that Pokemon out. Sure enough, we do. We level up right here to level 23 as Rapidash comes out. This Pokemon's faster than us. We would have to get a Paralysis with Body Slam to go for the Rap strats there. Still at this point, it doesn't seem to be working, so there is a pretty obvious play to get through this one, and that is to go for the Mimic strat. I'm going Mimic here because I think it's going to help me against both of these next two traders. I'm going to have to forget Substitute to learn Mimic, but I think Body Slam is still too useful. I think Dig is too useful. I think Rap is too useful. I think Substitute's the only move that can go. Tell me if you think I'm wrong in the comment section, but for now, this is what I'm going to go with. The entire strategy here, of course, relies on the fact that this Growlithe will only go Agility against me, so I can simply use that to my advantage, Mimic Agility myself, and get the speed boost in order to just guarantee that I outspeed here. Of course, that gives me a badge boost in attack, but it's less about that. It's more about the fact that I can simply outspeed everything, and now I can go for the Rap strats in order to get opponents into a range where I can knock them out with the Dig. Of course, his Super Potions do affect this strategy a little bit, but I don't think we're getting one-hit KO'd by anything until we get to either Rapidash or the final Arcanine. So we can simply dig down the Ponyta right there. Against the Rapidash, we're back to our Rap strats. Of course, he has to go for a full health Super Potion there, but we're really just hoping to get this one down into a range where hopefully we can knock it out. We will also need some wraps left over for the final Arcanine, of course. Let's see what range we get with Dig. We got a pretty good damage range there, and we knocked that one out. So we get to the final Arcanine. We're still faster. We missed the first wrap. It goes for Roar. That's perfectly fine. I'm just going to take it as far down as I can with the wrap strats before I go into the digs. Since he does have those super potions, I just want to get as much damage on this as I can. Now he's used both of his super potions. He hits Fire Blast though, and we go down in a single hit. I think anything other than Fire Blast, we might have survived there. Still, it might be better to just go Dig against the Ponyta and get the KO. Sure enough, we get it in 2 hits. So we'll save as many wraps as possible for the final 2 Pokemon. Here we get the KO on the Rapidash, so we're back to Arcanine again. We have 9 wraps this time. He uses his first super potion. He uses his second super potion. We still have a few wraps to go, so we should have a chance here. Obviously, wrap toxic strats are also a possibility, but I'm going to avoid that until later on. Only using it if it looks like it's absolutely necessary. Here we're out of wrap. Let's see what Dig does here as he misses a takedown. A critical hit did a lot. Takedown does not finish me off in a single hit, and we do knock him out that time. So we get through Blaine in 4 attempts there. It's all about the agility strat, of course, in order to get through, but it's an hour, 18 minutes, 50 seconds. We did have to add on another broken TM, but we've only got 152 resets, which compared to the fact that we had like 144 after Koga really isn't that bad, and we're ready to move on in this one. Of course, that also gets us a badge boost in our special, which will make us a little bit more survivable in some spots. But I think now we have to go back to Giovanni. I don't think there's any way that we beat Sabrina, at least as we are right now. We'll probably have to drop rare candies. So I'm going to try this one instead. Maybe we get a level up here. Maybe we can find a range where we'll at least outspeed against the Nidoqueen. With Mimic, we can mimic the Horn Drill in order to take out the toughest opponents. So let's just see how this goes. So Giovanni round 2 here. Let's go for Mimic. Let's get Horn Drill. Stomp still does pretty decent damage to me. Dig still doesn't look like a great range on the Rhyhorn, but I do think we have to go for this strat if we're going to get through. So this is going to take a little bit of luck. So now against Dugtrio, we're really hoping that he doesn't go Guard Spec. If we can get like 3 hits here, we should be able to win. So it's just purely based on whether he uses the item or not. So I think we just have to hope he Guard Specs turn 1 or turn 2, which has a decent chance of happening. And after that, once he uses the Guard Spec, of course, he doesn't have any way to interrupt the dig. So we can get through at that point. We level up to level 27 here. We get to learn Glare. Now, Glare might be better for our strategy than Body Slam since it has a higher chance to paralyze the opponent. So I'm actually going to replace Body Slam with Glare. Tell me again if you think that's a mistake, but I think this is going to be the best play going forward. Here on the Nidoqueen, we are slightly slower, so I'm going to Glare at it. Now we can go for Wrap or we can go for Dig. We can see obviously that Wrap isn't doing a lot of damage here. We see even Scratch did massive damage to me, and Dig doesn't do enough, so we will need better luck there to get through that one. This time we're 2 Nidoqueen on full health. It Body Slams. We miss with Glare, which is a 25% chance, so we simply lose. Now, we do have an issue that learning Glare here causes us to actually lose our mimicked move from the start of the fight. It's another one of these glitches that happens in this generation. So it turns out mimicking Horn Drill against the first Rhyhorn is just a strategy for the first Horn Drill. It goes away after that if we actually learn a new move. So basically, when we throw Glare on here, it's going to reset my move set. So we will once again have Mimic on the move set here. So here, while we paralyze the Nidoqueen, we're just fully paralyzed, but we see that we didn't have access to Horn Drill at that point. That makes me think we need to drop a couple of rare candies here in order to get to Glare first, set that on our moveset, and then go back into this fight again. Here at the higher level, we now won't learn a move in the middle of the fight, so when we mimic Horn Drill, we'll actually keep that move for the rest of the fight, and that will open up the YOLO strats of going for a Horn Drill on the Nidoqueen and Nidoking. We're still going to need to get a run where he goes Guard Spec either turn 1 or turn 2. It's like a 1 in 8 chance per turn that he goes for it on that Dugtrio, but I think that's our best strategy for getting through this. Here we get the Guard Spec, so we are going to get the chance to knock out Dugtrio here. Once he uses the Guard Spec, turn 1 or turn 2, it's guaranteed that we knock him out from there. Back to Nidoqueen, we're now just ever so slightly slower than this Pokemon. Let's see what Dig does at this higher level. Of course, we get a Gen 1 miss there. It looks to be a 3-hitter on the Nidoqueen though. She body slams and paralyzes me. I get fully paralyzed underground. I could go for the invulnerability glitch here, but I'm not going to. I'm going to Dig again and simply knock her out. That will bring us to the Nidoking, but of course it just tackles me down. We need better luck than that on that Pokemon. This time we get to Nidoking on decent health. I'm going to glare at it. He went for the guard spec there, but on low health, I think we have to YOLO into the Horn Drill. We just didn't manage to hit it, but I don't think we would have survived enough turns. Maybe we could have gone Wrap into Dig. I'm not sure, but definitely not great luck there to get the miss from Glare turn 1. This time we're back to Nidoking, and I did get it paralyzed, so I'm going for Wrap here. I think we have to get it down to about a third of its health remaining at least to knock it out with a Dig. So that's what we're going for here. We're just going to try to get it down as low as possible and just hope we can get the range at that point. Let's see if Dig gets it. It does. So we get our first shot at Rhydon here as we get to level 29. Horn Drill's the strat here, 100%. It misses Fissure. We hit the Horn Drill and we finally win after 36 attempts on Giovanni and get to level 30 here. So it's been an hour, 36 minutes, 9 seconds. We've got a score of 57.3, but we have managed to get through Giovanni on minimum battles. That leaves only Sabrina left. And Sabrina is going to be brutal in this one because she has these super effective moves. I think this might be a point where we have to go for a stronger move like Hyper Beam. I'm not sure. I'm going to stick with my moveset first as it is and just see how this fight actually goes. But I'm not super confident that we're actually getting through Sabrina right here. Let's test it and see. Now, I seriously think we might have to drop our rare candies on this fight because currently we are still slower than this Kadabra. So we would have to go Glare on it to outspeed. Obviously, Psychic will one-shot. Let's just see if we get a Psybeam. If it one-shots us too, then we know we have to go for rare candies here because she's only going to go Psychic and Psybeam against this Arbok. Here, we actually managed to survive, but we hit ourselves in confusion after the Psybeam. And on such low health, I'm not sure that we have any shot of actually getting through this. Still, I want to test at least the damage range with Dig, so I'm going to reset for a run where she goes for Psybeam, which is a 50-50 shot, and then see what Dig does against the Kadabra just to see the range. So this time we get Psybeam, we go underground, we hit Dig, we see it's not a one-hitter. So just like that, we can tell we're not getting through at this point. Hyper Beam might get the job done, but it's going to have less PP, and I actually think I want to keep Dig for a minute here. So instead, let's go for a couple of rare candies. We're going until we get more speed than the Kadabra, which happens after 3 of them. We're going in at level 33 here. Let's see how this goes. So the first thing here is that we are now faster. Let's see if Dig gets the one-shot. Otherwise, we can go Wrap into Dig to try to get through this one. Sure enough, it does not get the one-hit KO. We do survive against a Psybeam, though, so that gets us to the Mr. Mime. Here, we could mimic something like Barrier or Light Screen, but I think we're better off just going for the attack here. Mr. Mime has a little bit more physical bulk and could go for the Barrier, so I think we're better off going for the Wraps on this Pokemon to knock it out. We do manage to get through. That brings out Venomoth, which is going to go either Leech Life or Psybeam here. We are still faster than this Pokemon though, so I think we stick with the Wrap there. We just didn't get the range to get through. Let's try this again. So now that we know it's not a one-hit KO, I'm going to Wrap first on the Kadabra, and then we will go for the Dig after that to guarantee the KO. Mr. Mime, we're back to just the pure Wrap strats, at least until it gets on fairly low health, at which point maybe we can Dig because of the fact that it's not likely to survive even after Barrier. Sure enough, we get through. We're to the Venomoth on full health this time. So I'm going Wrap strats here since it's only neutrally affected by Dig. Let's see if we can get the KO from this range. We do, so we're to Alakazam on full health. I'm going Glare after it goes Psywave. That's perfect. Now into the Wraps, and we just want to get her as low as we possibly can. Hopefully not get a Reflect, and obviously no Psybeam here, since Psybeam will completely destroy me. She's fully paralyzed. We Dig. She does go Reflect, but we get the crit, so we managed to get through Erica. It didn't take that many attempts, but we did have to go for the rare candies there. An hour 40 minutes 20 seconds to get through that. So we're up to 196 resets, 4 TMs learned, 2 broken TMs. We've already used our substitute TMs, so we don't have substitute left in the bag to use against the league, but we are on to the league. And I think we've got a strategy that's going to get us through the league. We're just going to have to see, but I'm going to start with what I've got right now, and let's just see if we can manage a victory. There aren't really any new TMs to take out, so I think we've got to go with what we've got. But let's get into the Lorelei fight, where there are a couple spots where we could get a major advantage here. So I want to really test this one out and see just what we actually get. Toxic is in the bag, and that could be our strat if nothing else works here. We've got TM21 in order to learn Mega Drain, which could be a strat if we could say mimic the move Amnesia from the Slowbro. And this might even be the spot to forget the move Dig. We've got Earthquake in the bag for later on, so Dig might have outlived its usefulness right here. Rock Slide is also a strategy that we can use in this fight. We've got 7 rare candies in the bag. I'm going to test this out and see, but I'm going to go in as I am first. But my next strat honestly is going to be the Toxic strat. Wrap plus Toxic could be OP here. We're just going to have to find out. So Lorelei attempt number 1, and here's where we get our first advantage as a poison type. This Dugong is only going to use the move Rest over and over and over again. We also outspeed it right now, so we can simply go for Wrap against this Pokemon, and as long as we hit every single turn, we would eventually take this one down. The problem with this strategy, of course, is that she has a couple of super potions that she's going to use on each of these Pokemon when they get to low health, plus she can just rest like that. That's why I think Toxic is the required strategy to actually get through this one. We can see what the range is with something like Dig, but I'm pretty sure it's not going to be great. This looks like it's going to be a 4-hit KO, at least at our current level, and that makes me think going for the Toxic strat is the way to go. Hyper Beam wouldn't work because it has a recharge turn, and we don't really have any stronger physical moves to use here. And with our lower special stat, it's not like Mega Drain's going to be getting a great range there either. So this is, I think, the best strategy for getting through this fight. So let's just forget Dig and go for Toxic Wrap. We'll have Mimic for later on in order to mimic Amnesia, both for badge boosts and for survivability, and we will have Glare to paralyze anything that happens to be faster than us. But let's see how this goes. So coming back to this fight again, we're going to start by setting up Toxic, and now at this point this should just be a matter of landing enough wraps to let Toxic do its thing, since eventually the Dugong will go down. Now we are faster than Cloyster, we can hit Toxic again, it goes Clamp, which does a lot of damage. We're hoping to not get too many turns there. Fortunately, it's just a 2-turn Clamp, and now we can go into the wraps against this Cloyster, and she super potions there, but that's not really a big deal. She can just slam super potions all she wants. She's going down eventually. Now we get to the Slowbro, which in Pokemon Red and Blue only has one psychic type move, that is Amnesia, and that's basically all it's going to do here. So I'm going to mimic Amnesia myself and start spamming that move to get as much special as I can to be as survivable as possible. Now we'll go Toxic, and we can just start wrapping on this Pokemon. In fact, we don't even need to wrap here since it's never going to damage us. We could just go for anything else. We level up to level 36. We could learn Screech. I'm gonna skip the move. I don't think we need it. That brings us to Jinx. Here it goes Thrash against me. I go Toxic, and it just thrashes about. It could have gone for a lot of other things though, so I think we have a chance in this one. Let's try this again. I think when we get to the Jinx, we're hoping for Ice Punch with no critical hit and no freeze. At that point, I think we can get the victory. This time we get hit by Aurora Beam and get an attack drop, but again, it shouldn't really matter from this Cloyster since we're just going to Toxic it down anyway. Now we will once again mimic Amnesia so that we can set up here with the badge badge boosts, we can see that we leveled up there just before the Jinx, so this could be a spot to go for one more rare candy just to try to get a victory that way. Here we'll just go for Toxic, and then I'm just going to spam Glare PP while this one slowly goes down because it will never damage me. This is a completely free Pokemon. So back to the Jinx here. It goes Body Slam this time. I go Toxic. Body Slam again gets a critical hit. So we would outspeed there if not for the level up. I'm going to try one rare candy to see if we can avoid that and manage to get through the Jinx without leveling up. Maybe that's all we need. And here again, when we finish our Amnesia setup, we'll just spam Glare until Slowbro goes down. But this time, no level up before Jinx. So we are faster here. We can go Toxic. It goes Body Slam, but didn't do that much. And now we can just start wrapping this Pokemon. And the combination of Wrap and Toxic is enough there. We get to level 37 as Lapras comes out, but we are faster. We go Toxic. It hits Hydro Pump. We survive thanks to the Amnesias. And now we just need to land enough wraps to get through this one. Sure enough, it goes down. So Lorelai's not that bad once you go for the Toxic strat. Obviously, we've got to drop our score quite a bit for that. But Wrap plus Toxic is OP and proves to be enough right there. You did still have to drop a rare candy in order to not level up against that Jinx. I think that is the key to actually getting through. Anyway, with that done, we're now to Bruno, where Wrap and Toxic should be more than enough for this. And I think we can just badge boost up on the first Pokemon in order to survive basically everything. So Bruno shouldn't be a big deal, but let's see how this actually goes. So Bruno attempt number 1 right here. We're already faster than this Onix, so it might be better to just go Toxic Wrap here and just slowly take this one down. He has used Rage, which is not great even in the best of times, but really bad when you're just getting Toxic down by the opponent. Now I think we can mimic the move Ice Punch to use against the second of these Onixes. Of course, Mega Punch did decent damage to me there. That's why maybe mimicking Harden from the first Onix is the better play. But we do eventually take him down just like that. Hitmonlee comes out, he X defends, but that doesn't affect our strategy at all. So now he's just wrapped, he's toxic. And if he doesn't get a move, we will win. Here he goes Focus Energy again, so that's an easy victory. We can Ice Punch here on the Onix to simply take it down. Toxic on the Machamp, it just goes Leer. And now we're into our Wrap with Toxic strat. So of course, Machamp just goes down nice and easy. We beat Bruno on the first attempt, getting to level 39, and it's on to Agatha. Now, Agatha is where I'm going to make another moveset change. I'm going to use the TM for Earthquake here. Toxic might still be too useful, and we might need Glare. I'm not sure. Mimic might be the move that simply has to go at this point, because I don't think there's a lot of good moves to Mimic after this. But then again, we might be better off just skipping Glare. I'm not sure. The big problem is going to be the champion's Alakazam, and that's where I think we might need the Paralysis in order to get a range to knock that Pokemon out. So I think I'm going to forget Mimic and learn Earthquake here. This might be a mistake, but I think it's probably my best play. Let's just see how this goes. So Agatha attempt number 1 right here. I'm going to Earthquake on this Gengar, nearly getting the one-hitter with the crit. It puts me to sleep with Hypnosis, of course, and if I don't wake up, I'm probably getting wrecked here. We do manage to wake up, only to hit ourselves in Confusion twice in a row and then get knocked out by the Nightshade. Still, I think we probably got a 2-hit KO range on that first Gengar. So let's just try this one again. I will once again Earthquake right here, and we're just going to have to land another hit. We do manage to get it this time. That brings out the Golbat. Now, Golbat's faster, but I'm going to go for Glare and then go into the Wraps here. This isn't a great strategy, but I think it's the best play on that Pokemon. When she swaps to Haunter, we'll go Earthquake right here. It's going to be another 2-hitter. We lost our badge boost in attack due to the Haze, but we get a level up right here, which will recalculate our stats. We once again get Haze from the Golbat, but I don't think that's the end of the world. It is still paralyzed at least. Now, she could go for super potions here, but that's not necessarily the end of the world. When we get the Arbok swapped in, I'll go for Earthquake on this one. It's going to be a 2-hitter as well, but we do knock it out. Back to Golbat, it goes supersonic. We hit ourselves in confusion. She super potions, but we're just hoping to hit a bunch of wraps there. We just didn't quite get the range. So here, I think we could probably forget Glare. I'm not super happy about it, but I think we have to keep the Toxic. The other possibility is to drop some rare candies to deal more damage. I'm not sure what the best strategy is. I think we want Wrap Toxic later on. The question is just, will we be able to do anything against the Alakazam? We'll be like hoping that it goes for Reflect and hoping to get a crit, I think. So this could be very YOLO if we don't have the Glare there, but maybe it's YOLO enough even with Glare. So in that case, maybe we just go Rock Slide here to have a good move against that Golbat. Over Glare, keeping Wrap Toxic, Earthquake. Let's see how this goes. I'm not confident, but maybe we can get this to work out. This time we get the critical hit one-shot on the first Gengar. We get Wing Attack from the Golbat. We see Rock Slide does about a third here, so we should take this one down this time. That gets us to level 40 as the Haunter comes out. We're still slower, but we hit the Earthquake. It's nearly a one-hitter, but it's going to turn out to be a 2-hit KO. Arbok comes out. We hit ourselves in confusion, but we do outspeed this one thanks to our badge boost in speed. We're just slightly faster. We can knock that one out. We've made it to the final Gengar on very low health. No Nightshade, please. Of course, it has to go Nightshade, so we lose. Let's try this again. No, of course, Agatha's Nightshade does a lot to us, and it's going to be very random with the confusion strats, but I do think we'll eventually get this one to go. It's just going to come down to what luck we get on the Ghosts specifically. Neither Golbat nor Arbok are particularly scary Pokemon on this fight, but the Ghosts can completely wreck us if they just put us to sleep in Dream Eater, for example, so we need pretty good luck on that end. Here we are getting back to the final Gengars. We get to level 41. Hit Nightshades. We survive. Earthquake does about half. We need like Toxic or Dream Eater here. She goes Dream Eater while we're awake. So we finally win against Agatha. That took a while. We're up to about 2 hours in this one, but we are moving on to Lancey Boy. Let's just see how this goes. I think we can get the victory here. So Lancey Boy attempt number 1. Here's the deal. We're already faster than this Gyarados, so I think we can just go Toxic and Wrap here. It goes Leer against me. That's perfectly fine. We will just use the Toxic Wrap strats to get a victory against that Pokemon. Now against the Dragonair, it will never attack us. It's only going to use agility over and over again, so we can just spam some Earthquakes here and get the victory. He might go for Hyper Potions, I'm not sure, but it shouldn't really matter because we're going to get through this one eventually anyway. Same for the second Dragonair, it just has nothing against this Arbok other than agility because of his smart AI. So we can even wrap it into a range to make sure that we knock it out with the Earthquake if he doesn't go for the Hyper Potion. But even if he does, it's not like we can use Earthquake on the next 2 Pokemon, so that's perfectly fine. Now we get to the Aerodactyl though. This is where I think we have to go Toxic, and we see we just take massive damage. I was going to try to go Toxic into Rock Slide to try to get through there. We just couldn't quite get the range to get it to go. Still, if we can find a way through that Aerodactyl, we will win because nothing else will damage a poison type Pokemon on this team. And Aerodactyl here can go for Supersonic, which misses this time. We do over half with a critical hit Rock Slide, but it knocks me out after that. So we're just going to need better luck, hopefully to get there on full health. Let's see if we can get the luck to get it to go. So back to Aerodactyl on full health this time. He goes Bite a couple times. I'm going to Wrap Toxic here and just see if I can get him into a range to knock him out. He Hyper Beams, so I lose. Another Bite, I think we would have survived. Supersonic, we would have survived. So I think there were decent chances of getting through there when we get to that fight on full health. This time he's Supersonics turn 1, Bite turn 2. We do have a defense drop on, but we land the wrap. But again, he gets the Hyper Beam. He could also miss Hyper Beam, giving us a chance to get the victory there. Or we could get a really long wrap that could probably get us through. This time we get a Supersonic miss and a takedown, but we do manage to get the Toxic wrap on. But he takes me down from that range, so once again we lose. We just need to get there on full health. I keep getting like a Dragon Rage from Gyarados and trying to get through, but it's just not enough HP at that point to survive a couple hits. We really need to be able to take like 1 or 2 hits there from the Aerodactyl when we get there. Leer also makes that range worse, so we'll just have to see if we can get it or not. Supersonic miss. Now we get takedown, but we survive and we hit the wrap only to get taken down again. He just keeps using strong moves, and if we just get a Supersonic there, we always would have a chance, which is like a 1 in 4 at that point. So we just have to reset on this one. I don't think there's any logic for using rare candies here. We just have to get the luck to actually get it to go. I think we need to save the rare candies until after the level ups in this fight for the champion to just have any shot against that Alakazam on the final battle. This time we get a really nice long wrap, but it's still surviving on 39 HP. We would need one more turn, and unfortunately we just didn't get it. Still, once we get through Aerodactyl, it's a guaranteed win against the Dragonite. The Dragonite will not use any damage dealing moves against a poison type in Pokemon Red and Blue. So one of the issues that I have with solo runs in Pokemon Red and Blue is that because there are so many exploits in the league like Lance, I think it skews the results quite a bit between, say, poison types and fighting types versus other types. But given that poison types and fighting types are really bad in Gen 1, it probably just over-represents them overall in this. Granted, if we had more levels, we could probably get through this just fine, but we're going to have to sit here and reset for a hot minute on Lancey Boy just because of that Aerodactyl. This time he hits Supersonic against me. Now he goes Hyper Beam, but we survive. He has to recharge for a turn, but we hit ourselves in confusion twice and lose. That was like our best shot so far. This time we get a takedown miss, then Bite, critical hits from the Aerodactyl. Oh, this is terrible. We get the Supersonic miss though, and that allows us to hit. So we do finally take it down. It's taken 56 resets on Lancey Boy just to get to the Dragonite, but now we've got the victory. We just go Toxic right here. It's going to go Barrier. That doesn't really matter. I'll just spam Rock Slide because it's super effective, but really he's just going to go down eventually due to the poison. Doesn't matter if he Hyper Potions. We've got the victory. He would only go Barrier and Agility with the Dragonite at the end. Of course, Barrier is a cheated in move, but it helps us in this case. So we managed to finally get through Lancey Boy. We're at level 43 as we get ready to go to the champion. We have 6 rare candies in the bag. I think we have to slam all 6 of them. I don't see any way that we get through this without that. But now we need to decide whether or not we need Hyper Beam for this, whether or not we need any other moves for this. I'm going to go in with my moveset once as is just to see if we can get the victory. Let's see how this goes. So champion attempt number 1. First off, on the Pidgeot, Rock Slide's our strongest move, and it looks to be a 3-hitter. We get a couple Whirlwinds, which is fine. Now it goes Wing Attack, but we simply knock that one out. The problem is entirely this Alakazam. It's going to be faster than us, I think, no matter what we do. It can go Psybeam, Psychic, or Reflect. We kind of want Reflect in a critical hit here. Psybeam destroys me if I have any damage on it, looks like. And Psychic is absolutely going to wreck me from full health. So we're going to have to try this one a few times, but I want to see if I can get a Reflect and just see the range that I get with the Earthquake there. If we're not dealing enough damage, we might have to do Hyper Beam on the Alakazam to get a critical hit one-shot. Honestly, I'm not sure though. I'm just going to drop all the rare candies right here. I think there are a couple of strategies that we could use in this fight. We get a level up and learn Acid, which would be a same type move. I'm just not sure it's terribly useful. It can get the defense drop on an opponent, and it might be our best play against the Exeggutor, so I might have talked myself into learning that. Though, what move do we forget? For now, I'm going to skip Acid. I think we'll just go with other moves, and we'll get up to level 49 coming into this fight. We now have 132 speed, which I think will outspeed a lot of members of the team, but it won't outspeed the Charizard at the end. I know that for sure. And I'm not sure if we even outspeed the Pidgeot. Let's see. So it is enough speed to outspeed Pidgeot. So I'll go Toxic here. We can even go Toxic Wrap strats on this Pokemon at this point, and that will take that one down. We get to Alakazam, Psybeam. We still get wrecked from that level of health. We're going to have to get better luck here. Maybe we're hoping for like a Whirlwind from the first Pidgeot, which is a 1 in 4 chance. It also can Mirror Move Toxic, which is perfectly fine since that move can't damage me. So we generally get through the first Pokemon now. We get Reflect from the Alakazam. We see the Earthquake did about a quarter, so I think maybe the crit will get the victory. It went Reflect twice against me there, so I even had 2 shots at the crit, so we'll just have to see. We also just barely survive against a Psybeam. It goes Reflect after that, so we could get either the crit after a Psybeam or after the Reflect. The problem is that we're on very low health at that point, so I think this is a good spot to learn TM21 for Mega Drain, with the idea being that we'll heal up against the Rhydon later on in the fight. So I'm going to forget Rock Slide to learn Mega Drain. Let's just see if that does anything for us here. Here we get the critical hit on Alakazam. It doesn't quite get the one hitter, but he reflects again. So we simply knock that one out and get to the Rhydon on full health. I'll just Mega Drain here a couple times. It goes Fury Attack. That's not the end of the world. We'll simply take it down from there. Exeggutor comes out. It's only going to go Hypnosis, which is only 60% accurate. So I'm going to go Toxic first. It misses Hypnosis. Now we can go into our Wrap strats, and this should be enough to take this Pokemon down, assuming we don't get bad luck with full restores. We do manage to take it out. We get to level 50 on the Gyarados. We are faster than this Pokemon, so Toxic Hydro Pump hits and does massive damage. A critical hit just one-shot me, but I think if it didn't get the critical hit, if it goes Dragon Rage or Leer, will survive, and we might have a shot here. Let's try this again. I think this fight entirely comes down to the Alakazam and whether or not we can get the luck to crit there. Because Earthquake doesn't get the one-shot though, I think we need to change to Hyper Beam, since that crit would be definitely a one-hit KO. Still, we get another critical hit here, only to not get through. So yeah, I'm going Hyper Beam on this one so that we can hopefully just bank on the approximately 15% chance to crit against that Alakazam when it does go Reflect. I think that's our win condition. Hyper Beam can also hit the final Charizard, so that will help us there as well. I think everything else we just go Toxic and Wrap against. In fact, Hyper Beam nearly one-shots from full health on that Alakazam when we don't get KO'd by the Psybeam, so there could be a chance of even going for like a Mega Drain into Hyper Beam strat there or something like that. I'm honestly not sure, but I think the critical hit Hyper Beam strat is the best play. This time he reflects twice, so we do manage to get through there. Back to Rhydon, where I will heal up on this fight, getting us back to pretty good health as we get to Exeggutor. Toxic here, we're just hoping for the Hypnosis miss or to wake up before he knocks me out. Unfortunately, we just couldn't get the luck to get it to go there, but he's only 60% to hit with the Hypnosis. So it takes tons of attempts, but we do manage to get back to Gyarados. I think if we get anything other than Leer or Dragon Rage, we get wrecked here though. So we'll just have to see. We hit Toxic, Hydro Pump ends me. That's the end of that one. Our score is already below 29 because I've just been sitting here for a small eternity resetting, but I don't think there's a better strategy than this. I don't think there's anything available to us. I've already used the substitute TM earlier in the run. I only programmed one into the hack because I don't want to use it constantly. So I think this is the best that this gets. Of course, if we can somehow manage to get to the final Charizard with any amount of HP, it could just go Rage against us 1 in 4 times, and that could guarantee the victory. So once again, we get to Gyarados. I still don't think we stand up well against the Hydro Pump or Hyper Beam though, so please, anything else. It goes Leer this time. We finally get a chance to get the Wrap Toxic on this Pokemon, and that will take us to the final Charizard. For the first time, I've been resetting here for a small eternity. We're hoping for Rage. Please use Rage. Yes, it uses Rage. That's what I wanted to see. Oh, that gives us a chance because now we can wrap it. Yes, we're building the Rage, but we're also getting all of the Toxic damage. And if we just wrap him again, finally, nearly 3 hours, we get to level 51 and we're able to defeat the champion on ultra minimum battles with Arbok. That was ridiculous. We're down to a score of 26.7. We ended up with 353 resets, 8 TMs used, 3 broken TMs, but I think that was the only way to get through. I think we had to go wrap Toxic at the end. And the first time that we saw Charizard, fortunately, it gave us the 1 in 4 chance to use Rage, which gave us the victory. You might be saying, well, that's cheesy. You know, you could have gone up against the Blastoise team, but Blastoise could have just gone Withdraw and given us the chance to get a win. And Venusaur, same thing. I don't think it has any good moves, so I think it would possibly go Growth against us. So all of the champions fully evolved starters would have at least one move that they could use that wouldn't be a damage dealing move. And we might have even outsped against something like Blastoise and been able to get the victory there. So I think that the Charizard is the biggest challenge for this one because of its speed. But when he rages, he just punts on that fight, finally giving us the victory. Oh, that took a small eternity. I cannot believe we finally got it to go. So you can see the splits right there. It's nearly an hour and a half since we beat Sabrina to get through the champion. That's how bad that Elite Four section was, but we got through in the end. So we add this one to the tier list. So we can see that Arbok does complete this challenge, but I may need to redo my tiers here. Originally, I had intended for Pokemon with a score below 30 to go into the Bruno tier, but I think we have to separate this one out from the Fearow and the Pidgeot. So we might need to make this like the Surge tier on the basis that it's really, really bad, but ultimately it does get through. So I'll rethink my tiering here just a little bit, but for now, Arbok is down in there in the remaining contenders section. It is the worst Pokemon that we've actually managed to complete the challenge with, even worse than Magneton, which is nuts to me. Like Raticate and Beedrill make this Pokemon look bad by comparison. But in the end, it is through. Arbok is a champion on ultra minimum battles. So as the rival says, why did I lose? Well, clearly it's because of the fact that he used Rage on his final Charizard, giving us the victory. That is ridiculous. We will take it. Let's register this Arbok into the Hall of Fame. And with that one, I just want to say thanks to everybody who hangs out and watches these videos. It is nuts sometimes trying to run these ultra minimum battles runs. The sheer number of resets on some of these is insane. But Arbok does get a little bit of respect for the fact that it got through in the end. So we're just gonna have to see how the next one goes, because of course next time it is Raichu time. I'm not going to be running Raichu with Surf. No, we're going to run a bog standard Raichu and see how it goes. We know a lot of strats that can work in some spots. Raichu has a couple of advantages that I think are going to make it better than Magneton. Of course, it has more speed. It's got decent attack and special, just lacks HP and defense. But it is rocking Body Slam. It gets stab electric type moves, but it also gets some fighting coverage for the rock types, which could be good on this Pokemon. I'm not sure. We're just gonna have to see how it goes next time. Could end up being really, really rough, but we'll just see. Still, that will be very interesting to find out how Raichu goes. But with that, Cobra Nick makes its way into the Hall of Fame, and I just want to give a massive thank you to everybody who watches to the end. Thanks to the channel members. I will see you in the next one. Later.